Ann Simonson, and I'm about to make dinner, and a little earlier I realized I had black lentils that I had defrosted. I make batches of everything, and I made a big batch of black lentils. Some people call them beluga lentils, and they are, well, tiny, delicious little bundles of flavor. Well, I thought, what a perfect way to add protein to a Bolognese sauce that will give it texture without using meat. When I was in Italy a few months ago, we had a Bolognese sauce that was vegan, and they put lentils in it, but they used bigger lentils, and I think this will be kind of fun to hide them in there. Not that we need to hide lentils. So what I'm going to do is I'm making a mixture. First of all, the vegetables. Let me get this started, and I'll be stopping and starting the video through this process. I intend to eat in about an hour, and we should be finished with this. So this was a dry pan. I had no oil in it. I looked at a variety of recipes, and I had recipes calling for anywhere from 2 tablespoons of oil, and I'm doubling the recipe. That would have been a quarter of a cup. 2 tablespoons times 2 would have been a quarter of a cup, to a half a cup to a third a cup, meaning I would have used 2/3 of a cup if I was doubling this in some cases. I don't use added oils. I don't see the purpose for it. I am whole food plant-based. I'm actually a whole food plant-based culinary and health coach. I work at a lifestyle medical clinic, have going on 6 years, and I have been whole food plant-based for nearly 6 years. So I don't use added oils, and I find I don't need to. It saves thousands of calories a month. I don't count calories, but I love to eat volumes of food, and I can eat volumes if I'm just eating the food as it's grown. And onions chopped up, or pretty much as they're grown, I throw in hundreds of calories of oil. A quarter cup, for example, is almost 500 calories hidden in there. You don't even know it's there. So anyway, that's the story. So I'm getting this onion softened. I'm going to be adding to a couple of large onions, a pound of mushrooms, and then I have a combination of carrots, and all of this is finely chopped because a Bolognese tends to be more of a robust, heady, but I'll use the word homogeneous. It's not a chunky kind of a garden marinara. And it's going to give me a beautiful sauce for something else that inspired me to do this today. I was at Trader Joe's. It's this kind of marvelous store with a lot of creative things and creative people running the place. But I hadn't seen this before. This is a tagliatelle pasta, which is that kind of pasta. Well, it's about the width of a linguine, some linguinis, but it's in these little rounds, and it is gluten-free. It's a corn and rice flour. That's why it's yellow. No, they didn't use egg in it. And so won't this be fun? Tagliatelle with this, I'll call it almost silky Bolognese. It's going to be a lot of fun. Although the fire's rather high, the pan was completely dry. It's not a non-stick pan. This is in great shape because, again, onion will weep. I also have my own broth. I always keep my broth that I make from scraps that I keep in the freezer handy, because if I needed to, I'd put a little of that. It would bubble up, deglaze the pan, kind of dry out again as this thing is becoming more and more golden. But before I do anything more, I'm going to add, because this is getting nice and translucent, which means it's losing some of its strident flavor, I'm going to add chopped mushrooms, and these were baby bells. They could be cremini, they could be baby bells, and it's a pound. And again, I'm doing a double recipe here. I want a pot full of marinara for just the two of us. because my feeling is if I'm doing all of this, I don't want to do it again for a while. I want containers in the freezer of this marvelous marinara that I can throw onto any kind of pasta. I have to go gluten-free and vegan. So none of the egg pastas. And what's going to happen also is that the mushrooms will weep. And I'm going to let them do that. I'll be adding some carrot. I'll be adding the celery. I'm going to cook all of this for about 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to really bring out the flavor. I'm putting in a lot of garlic. This is, gosh, maybe 8 or 9 cloves of roasted garlic. I buy 1.5 pounds. I learned this from Tammy of Nutmeg Notebook. From Costco, 1.5 pounds of peeled garlic, organic. And I'll roast it per her instructions, Tammy of Nutmeg Notebook. And then I keep it frozen in these little cubes of silicone, little ice cube trays of silicone from Tivoli, or Tivoli. They do a lot with the silicone. And press them in, and it takes maybe 8, 10, sometimes 12 cloves of garlic, depending on the size, and then freeze that, and then turn it out, because now I've got these little cubes of garlic that I can put into a little covered container in the refrigerator for a week and a half of this. It's almost a sweet garlic. It's not sweet like sugar, but when you roast garlic, it doesn't have like that stridency that disappears when you turn onion translucent. Well, the same thing with the garlic. It's much softer flavored, but you have that essence of the roasting to it. So this is roasted garlic. It smells great. All of this is going to go in here, and I'm going to put you on hold. Put you on hold. And I'll be back to you when I start adding other ingredients. But for now, this is taking its course. The mushrooms are being cooked down. If you're wondering, how did I chop all of this? I could have thrown everything, but I wanted the mushrooms separate and the onion separate. I could have thrown all of this together. I could have in a food processor and whirred it up. I have this little Tupperware container, and I hadn't used it before. And sometimes I get tired of cleaning all the pieces of the food processor. So I put the 2 onions in here, and I think I might have done one at a time, chopped them into quarters, and it worked beautifully. Carrots were a little different. I had 2 big carrots, and I had to chop those. Carrots are so resistant that it took a little bit of, kind of getting this thing centered on the cabinet and not moving all over around the counter. But I did the carrots in that, and they came out in a nice chop. And this is, I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's Tupperware, and it's a little chopper, and it chops up to 4 cups. And I did the celery that way, and I did the mushrooms that way, 1/2 pound at a time. So that was easy, and that was quick. And by the time I come back, I will have looked at Amazon, and I'll tell you if they have that on Amazon. Well, I've spoken long enough now. You can see this. Now, what you want to do with mushrooms is, if you ever do mushrooms, like sliced mushrooms, and you're sauteing mushrooms, they want to weep, and they weep quite a bit. But they're so finely chopped, and the heat is high enough that their weeping is done. And this is perfect now for me to add the carrot and the celery and the garlic. When you add garlic, you don't want to brown garlic too much because it will get bitter. Onion will burn, but garlic will get bitter. And then I'll do this. See, this is going to be a nice velvety base to the bolognese and all this tomato and stuff. I have some tomato paste, and I'll show you one more time. So what I was saying is I'll freeze a lot of this, and I'll have this all done at once. Much better than doing a little at a time. I'm not going to add the lentils until near the end, maybe the last 10, 15 minutes, throw them in, bring it back up to heat, because these are already cooked. As I said, they were cooked and they were frozen. And I'm going to do something you're not going to see me do very often. You know what this is? It's red wine. I saw so many recipes with red wine in the bolognese. Well, you're cooking off the alcohol and you're leaving a flavor, this flavor of robust fermented grapes. And you could very easily do without this and simply use broth. This is 1 cup for double the recipe. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to get out a bottle of wine. My husband and I stopped drinking wine almost a year ago. So we have these wine coolers with wine in them. So I just pulled out a bottle and I just wanted to do this. So, okay, that's it for me now. And I'll get back to you when I'm ready to add other things, and then you'll see it in the 3rd round at the end. All right. It's not Hi, I'm back. So I have, whoops, immediately off the camera. All right. So it's cooked down. Can you see that? It's cooked down. It's blended, softened the flavors. And now I'm going to add everything else that goes in here. I'm putting tomato paste, and you're going to see the amounts. And keep in mind, I'm doubling things. You could make half this recipe. If I were you, I'd just make it all and freeze it. Whoa. This may surprise you, a salt substitute, tamari. I use tamari because it's gluten-free. You could use soy sauce. And I'm using miso. Same thing. Miso is a good salt substitute. It also adds a mass of umami. That flavor that is, well, it's hard to describe, but it adds a real richness. So I'm mixing all these in to the vegetables, getting it nice and mixed in because the miso can be kind of thick and we don't want a glop of it in something. All right. Nicely blended. Beautiful, beautiful. Smells are great. Okay, now I'm adding bay leaf or a chopped dry bay. I'm adding I'm adding thyme, dried thyme. I could have added Italian seasoning, but I'm going to be putting in fresh, finely chopped rosemary at the end. Oh, you should have seen how this just hit me. And so I'm not going to use the Italian seasoning because that would be basically a duplication, a redundancy of what I've just done. I'm adding my wine, put the fire up, and two 28 ounce cans. One of them is ground peeled tomatoes, organic, by a brand I very much like and trust, Muir Glen. And I had two smaller cans with a little bit more of this was ground tomatoes. This one is diced, and this one is petite diced. So they're not chunky by any means, but by the same token, they're not completely smooth like a sauce. I'm also going to, I was going to say I'm going to add broth. Yeah, I am. See, you want a bolognese not to be a wet sauce. You want it to be a rather condensed sauce. So, okay, I can't help myself. I want to get these cans cleaned out. So I'm going to use, oh gosh, this is no more than 1/3 of a cup. Okay, there we go. No waste. So again, the lentils are going in later. My guess is when I put in the lentils, I'll add more broth because they're going to really thicken things. Remember, they're a starch as well as a protein source. So I'd like you to look at this. already, let me clean the sides to make it prettier for you. And I have some chopped parsley I'll be throwing on with the dish, but can you see how nice that looks? Oh man, the smell is great. What a meal we're gonna have, this terrific tagliatelle. And I wanted to show you what I meant by the tovolo. I think I told that tovola. Tovolo brand, you can't really see that much. But these are, it's silicone, so you can put all kinds of things in it. My tomato paste, I don't know if you noticed that I had that in cubes, same thing. If I buy a can of tomato paste and I'm using just a couple of tablespoons, now I buy a larger can of it, press it into here. These are 2 tablespoons each. How many tablespoons in a quarter of a cup? 4 tablespoons. So 2 of them makes a quarter of a cup. 16 tablespoons in an entire cup. So this is really handy to have. I have a couple of them, and then when they're frozen, you just twist them out and put them in a baggie, Ziploc baggie, and you have food like applesauce, because some things call for a half a cup of applesauce. How many cubes? 4. And what else? This garlic and tomato paste and aquafaba, because aquafaba is quite often used in just a few tablespoons at a time. What is that? It's the juice that's drained off of canned chickpeas. That is their broth, and you can drain it off of your own prepared chickpeas, but you're not controlling the amount of water necessarily when you're making chickpeas, and your broth could be very loose or very dense, and that when recipes call for it, they tend to be thinking in terms of a standard, and when you drain it off a can, that's a standard, but you can work with that any way you want. Okay, so now I'm going to let this cook for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to take a look at it, add the lentils. It'll be just about time to serve, and I'm really excited about this meal. Okay, see you in a bit. Hi, all right, I'm back. So I wanted to show you this beautiful sauce. I did add a bay leaf to it. I even grow a bay plant in order to always have fresh leaves. Can you see that? You'll see a photo of it on the pasta. I have my pot started. My husband isn't home yet, so pasta takes 9 to 11 minutes. I'll cook that as soon as he gets home, and we will have our meal. And I have a pot of, unfortunately I meant to just heat it, but it's almost cooked. Beautiful steamed broccoli. So I'll just reheat it. I don't want to cook it anymore because I think it's perfect like that. Love broccoli with a pasta sauce and with pasta. And broccoli is such a superfood. This itself is a superfood. I've added to it the lentils. Let me see if I can show this to you this way. Look, do you see the lentils? Doesn't that look like a perfect bolognese? The smell is delicious. So I'll tell you what else I added to it. I saw a couple of the recipes adding nutritional yeast. So I tasted it, I liked it. I added a couple of tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and I liked it even more. You get that additional umami, you get that almost cheesiness, because we're not adding any cheese to this. I don't own cheese. And I thought I would show you, in case you're new to miso, what miso is. Miso is fermented soy. In this case, it's fermented chickpea. Doesn't matter which one, but it is, it's a salty, even though the salt has been said to be bound to its structure, its protein, its fiber, and has a weaker effect than table salt. And it's a probiotic because it's a living fermented item. So the chickpea is in there, the tamari is in there. That's where we're getting our salt. I'm not adding salt to that or to this. And oh, what else did I want to tell you? I put in the fresh, finely chopped rosemary. I grow that as well. And anyway, we're ready to rock as soon as he's home and we're ready to serve it. Oh, that's what I knew I wanted to tell you. I worried about my statement that the alcohol would burn off. You can burn off alcohol, pure hard liquor, by igniting it in a pan. And after I said to you, well, I'm putting this wine in here, the alcohol will burn off, I wanted to confirm that that is not so. It cooks off 2 degrees. Something like oh, did I write it down? Yes. It's 35% less than the full strength after 30 minutes of cooking. No, after 35% after 15, 20 minutes of cooking. No, I'm saying all of that wrong. 35% less alcohol after 30 minutes of cooking, 25% after an hour, but it doesn't completely cook off. So if you don't drink alcohol, you don't want it, I'm kind of sorry I put it in there now, but I'm not gonna not eat this. So there it is on the table. Those are the facts, those are the details, and I'm sorry I misspoke, but anyway, it will be noted on the recipe. This is absolutely, I like the flavor, and when I taste this, I'm crazy about the flavor of this, but you could just add some broth instead. And that's that. Okay, thank you for your time. I am the author of Aging Powerfully. The point of this book, when I wrote it just before I turned 70 more than 3 years ago, was to say that with lifestyle as medicine, just a few lifestyle, I'll even call them hacks. Actually, I have 10 of them here. This is a acronym, the word powerfully, aging powerfully. With certain lifestyle hacks, you can stay away from the doctor, you can stay away from pills and procedures, and you can live well into your 80s, 90s, and beyond. That's what I intend to do. I was so sick before I chose whole food, plant-based, and lifestyle as medicine more than 6 years ago. And anyway, that's all behind me. I feel like I'm aging backwards and I'm healthier than I was in my 60s at 73. So, yahoo. Have a great day. I'm going to. All right, bye-bye. My little sticker is no longer working, so excuse me.